Bag, I want the bag. Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and the producers and the makers. What we even here for? Occasionally I ask it. I know it's more than struggling, anticipating the casket. Reap what we sow, trying to fill up my basket. Life's a plantation, I self-law and master. Over the plot, I've been granted on this planet. Now it's slanted, cause the chosen been supplanted. But if you overstand it, it was spoken. Fractured, but we ain't broken. Even though some would rather play the role of token, we growing. Black through the essence of a presence. We carry the blood of gods, we carry the mind of peasants. Rich black gardens, future look more like Eden. Multiply seeds like the seed banks in Sweden. Rep my planners on plan according to season. Be one code. Switching it up is treason. Black power, family what we eat. Either we get fed or we feed. B1AG.
What's going on? What's growing on? What is growing on? Welcome back to B1AG, Daily Bread Podcast. I'm John Hendra Harris, and we also have Farmer Brown, the MC. Here at B1AG, we focus on Black agriculture as it pertains to agricultural production, education, marketing, health, food, nutrition, and economics, all for the Black family and for the Black community. Welcome, Black, to the garden. Today's story, we are going to talk about artificial intelligence and robotics. Now, robots, they're increasingly taking a role in every step of the food supply chain, from agriculture to manufacturing to packaging and delivery. In fact, 9 out of 10 food processing and packaging companies are using robots to improve food safety, decrease worker injuries, and increase efficiency. And this is according to a recent study by the Packaging Machinery Manufacturers Institute. Now, if you throw in the pandemic, it kind of speeds up the need or the perceived need for these robots and artificial intelligence, just for safety reasons. So today we're going to deep dive into this subject and really take a look at how AI and robotics that transforming the food industry. So what's up, Farmer Brown? You had a Robo Burger?
First, I'd just like to say peace to the B1 family. Hope everybody's doing well. Strange times, we see a lot of the things going on right now in the political sphere, mandate certain requirements for people to perform their jobs. I think about the medical industry, especially when we think about the food industry, and it's like, why are so many people willing to take a chance of losing up to 45% of a workforce? And, not to get conspiratorial, but it's because, okay, I have something to replace you, whether it's somebody or groups from other places or machines. So saying that to say, I look forward to deep diving into this conversation. And I think today is really just kind of pointing out what's already going on. I think all of us are entitled to opinions. What does the elder Nellie Fuller say? VGQ, victims guaranteed qualifications. And so look forward to deep diving into this. What is the role of AI in our food security?
Well, we've already seen, like, earlier this year and last year how, fast food workers were demanding, $15 an hour, more of a livable wage. And, there's been the great resignations going on, people quitting these jobs, and, just a real mass exodus, from a lot of these service industries, especially the food industry. And it's caused a lot of problems for some, but trust me, they already have a solution in place, and that is artificial intelligence and robotics. Now, B1AG family, this is real. Like we said, like the workers, in the restaurants, they the Great Resignation. They were leading, really some of the leaders in the Great Resignation. This is what's going to replace them. Could you imagine going to and having a robot actually making your salad? When it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to food manufacturing and production, you know, robots they've been there. They've always been there. You know, this isn't anything new. These are the new robots that are being funded now. You know, those people, you know, I know one of my early jobs as a young teenager, I used to work at McDonald's, you know, and, you know, when we really had to flip those burgers, and now they have robots designed to flip these burgers.
It really makes you call into question the concept of humanity. You know what? You know, tools are necessary. If you go back to the prehistoric times, tools are basically appendages of your own body. You know, I can achieve something such as an arrowhead, such as a hammer. I could bang something with my fist, or I could forge this hammer, and I could probably nail something a little more firm. Saying that to say, a robot is supposed to be a tool to basically help, you know, mitigate problems. And so I just wonder, are we kind of going into this space of being too dependent on technology to do basic human services? The other day I was riding down Maxwell. This is up the street from UK. And I remember we had reported on this a while ago, but I saw one of those little robots delivering food. I saw one, and they was riding down the street. Wasn't nobody, it wasn't a good morning, sister. There wasn't a remote control or anything. It was just this robot delivering food down the street. And it was just, you know, how far we've come. How far we've come. When we think about food quality. And so do you think that robot's going to know if there was a hair or some sort of rodent feces or something in one of those burgers? Or is it just programmed to flip, flip, flip? When we think about economics, like you said, one of the first jobs many teenagers is going to have is going to be somewhere within the food system, probably fast food or retail. And so when you have robots that are performing these functions, you know, what does this mean for economics? What is this, you know, outside of economics, what does this mean for teaching people how to work? You know, teaching people to be functional members of society. Are we wanting to just push people directly into the metaverse? You know, let's transcend being human. We want you to go and be in this metaverse. You know, everything's digital. You know, the Most High created you as these organic, natural beings capable of endless amounts of tasks, but we're going to hand it over to these robots. It's very interesting.
Now, according to Bob Doyle, who is vice president of the Robotic Industries Association, he says that there's been a lot of growth in the use of robotics and automation in the food industry. Although much of this technology was developed for the automotive industry, more non-traditional industries, including food and beverage, are beginning to adapt, employ, and benefit from these types of robotics, data, and vision systems. Part of the reason, Doyle explained, is that the technology, which was originally developed to pick up sturdy metal parts, has become so sophisticated that it's sophisticated enough to pick up fragile items such as tomatoes, eggs, and loaves of bread without destroying them. In addition to automating repetitive tasks, Marshall Hebert, a professor with the Robotics Institute at Carnegie Mellon University, explained that robotics and artificial intelligence, AI, are enabling food manufacturers to track products and consumer demand, then match production to this demand based on data analysis. When companies are better able to analyze important steps like production, transportation, and refrigeration, he said, they're also better able to monitor food safety, include whether food was inadvertently contaminated and where that food was shipped and sold.
We keep hearing about this concept of carbon emissions. We want to save the planet. We want to conserve energy, renewable energy. And I just wonder now, does it cost more energy to build one of these robots? Because anything mechanical has to run off of something, some form of electricity that's going to have to make this mechanism work. Is it more feasible to feed a person to get a job done, or input all of this different electricity? All of these robots are going to need material to build them. We know when it comes to our computers and laptops, a lot of this material comes from the motherland, right? These are resources that have to be mined out of the ground. And so once again, when we're thinking about actual feasibility for the if you want to call it eco-friendly people, what happens if the power grid goes down? I know in recent weeks there's been these discussions of possible EMTs. There have been gaming that out. We've had that conversation. They said every time they've war gamed this out, the United States took a beating dealing with Russia, and just really just putting this conversation out here. Neither you nor I know what's going on, but there's certain dots you can connect. Like, okay, none of this is making sense. This is why we talk about, hey, y'all, with all of this chaos going on, one thing we can be assured is we're going to have to eat. This is why we need to learn how to grow our own food, because I feel like these scientists are going mad. Just because you have a button and it works doesn't mean you always need to push it. I think that's the same mindset going into these robots. The other day, and this was just as of early December, they've now found these xenobots. These are self-replicating. Absolutely. I want no piece of it. But I do believe in the third. I believe in the remnant. We're going to be in the 40 years in the wilderness, whether it's proverbial or literal. We're going to be in the 40 years. And in this wilderness, we will have to feed ourselves. This is why we talk about healthyblackfood.com. This is why we talk about this concept of learning how to grow your own food. Because you had brought up, and I think this is very interesting, you brought up, this technology was for the cars at first. Well, what do we see have transpired since machines in the cars? Now your cars can talk to you. Now car technology is, hey, I'll drive for you. You don't even need to drive no more. I'll drive for you. Oh, you've been drinking. So everything's becoming more and more invasive on our bodies, right? They're becoming more and more invasive in our space. And this is the cost of convenience. And so when we get our food system dependent upon AI and technology, you're now putting something in position to say, well, you don't deserve to eat. Did you scan your hand? I see that you haven't gotten no therapy, so I'm not going to serve you. And you have no human being that you can say, hey, I think there was a misunderstanding here. Hey, I'm fine. I don't have a fever. Hey, I'm cool. Can I get my burger? I think for the melanated family to avoid even having these confusing discussions, like I said, this is the time now for us to not only learn how to grow our own food, but really working on building these networks wherever we're at. This isn't something where there has to be a centralized governing body or centralized leadership. The leader is your stomach. The leader is you want to get to the next day. You want to get to the next year, the next decade, next generation, flourishing. And that starts with food security.
And the pandemic definitely has played a role in the accelerated interest in the role of AI and automation, robotics, and data. Now, they can play a integral role in food and agricultural production, but the pandemic has placed stress on food producers across the supply chain, from growers to manufacturers and caterers, companies. They've all been confronted with the need to implement social distancing measures and have faced workforce shortages as employees fell sick or had to self-isolate. In some sectors, especially in the meat packings and sections of the agricultural sector, outbreaks linked to production facilities have also forced major shutdowns. So again, AI and robotics, they're seen as, a practical solution for these problems as more and more variants keep coming down the pipeline. Because these are manual practices When you have manual practices, you know, they've long been a bottleneck, a problem. They cause bottlenecks and they're less efficient. And many people view automation as a way to make these manual practices more precise and efficient. You know, better decision making across the food supply chain.
AI has been reported to be discriminatory when it comes to ethnicity. I know some people have seen the stories about, I think it was a black man, and they kept thinking his mouth was open because of his lips. So AI can be racist too. So once again, it's one thing dealing with a human racist, but then it's another dealing with technology. And this isn't tinfoil kufi, this isn't conspiracy theory. Like I said, absolutely, absolutely. And so, once again, staying on code, are we getting our young people? Because, are we here saying, oh, avoid technology, technology is bad? Create technology, or for lack of a better word, tools that benefit the melanated community. Instead of raising us to be people, absolutely, absolutely. And there's a slide we're going to show you here shortly, some research that's been done and some other things. We need to be programming our minds, our communities to solving our problems and not waiting on other people to solve them. Am I saying that all of us are just sitting, waiting around for them to help? Absolutely not. But do we have a critical mass of us who are making sure that we're not just going to kind of sit around and wait for what happens next? You had shared an article with me this morning about the big OM. And they basically came out and said, hey, even if you've been fully treated, you're still going to test positive for the big O. This is the CDC. Meaning, okay, I just told for the last year and a half, I've been telling you this is the way to fight this. Even if you fully, taken this, you're still going to get it. You're still going to test positive. So once again, you think about these workforces, and all of this ties together. The sister was talking about planned out a long time ago. These people think decades ahead. Okay, so you got all of these workforces, or workplaces. What is it? Anybody with at least 100 workers? Hey, all of y'all need to get this. And they just came out yesterday and said, well, even if you get all of these, you're still going to test positive. And so it's a problem, reaction, solution. Problem is, we can't get rid of this. And so you're just going to have to hunker down at home. Absolutely. I don't think they underestimate it. I think the devil knows his time is short, and he's like, I'm going to bring all of y'all ignorant people down with me. Whoever is not plugged into the Most High. If y'all want to buy into this. So once again, when we talk about the healthyblackfood.com, it's so much more than gardening, family. It's so much more than farming. Our original, depending on, where you're coming from, we were put in a garden. We were put in this global garden paradise. This is where our ancestors came from. And our first task, before coming across any of these people that landed on all these shores and saw this melanin, was feeding one another, making sure we were nourished, making sure we were taken care of. Then came building. What do you think came first, bro? A structure or a meal? Before you can build a structure, which takes time, you have to eat. So saying that to say it's getting black to that essence, black to that mindset of, okay, before we got so dependent on technology, what was important? I remember my mom telling me stories about, she'd be traveling up from Interstate 51. It wasn't, and this was in recent decades, it wasn't no such thing as like you just stopping over to fast food. My granny would make little, meals for them. Yeah. Stop over at a rest stop, finish your trip. That doesn't seem so antiquated, and it actually makes sense. Exactly.
I still do that, bro.
You know exactly what's going into your food. I think in 2021, if you're trusting the usual suspects to feed you and prioritize your health, I could care less about herd immunity. I could care less about, preventative measures. I'm still not going to pay these farmers who all they want to do is grow something healthy. Absolutely. I'm not going to pay the people that can produce nature's healing mechanisms, but I will put all of this money into AI. the other day, like I said, and I think you and I have a different take on this, these xenobots. And so our great technology has come to this thing of xenobots. These are self-replicating robots.
They ain't robots. They're globs that come from frog cells.
They come from frog cells, but AI put them together. AI put them in a petri dish, and they're the shape of Pac-Man. Saying that
Man, until it can do this, break dance, do the nay, or even flip a burger, it's not a robot. It's a glob.
What did the sister say? She said these people think things out a long time. If you could pull this up, the NIH publication. I don't know if you can pull that up because it ties together. You know, once again, these things happen in phases. So in December 2021, we got the news about these self-replicating living robots. And, you know, they could be used. They're talking about using them to clean the ocean, which, you know, makes sense. Eating plastic, they could be used to attack cancer cells, which, you know, practically speaking, okay, yeah. But when we think about the mindset of some the usual suspects, are you able to pull it up? This is Following the Science 2014. If you scroll down. You see these Greek words. This is 2014. Self-replicating. Self-replicating. We just got the news in 2021 that we've developed these robots that can replicate themselves. Problem, reaction, solution. We encourage the family to, you know, look these things up. I see that word RNA,
mRNA.
mRNA. This is 2014. This predates Operation Warp Speed, right?
And for our viewers that are watching live, I'm gonna go ahead and put the direct link to this article in the chat so you can check it out yourself. They've been on this. They've been on this. Now we've already talked about, you know, the jabby meals and, you know, edibles, you know, edible jabs. Think about adding the function of self-replicating to that. That's pretty wild. Self-replicating jabby meals. This is where it's going, y'all. This is where it's going.
How do you do quality control if it's a robot? Hey, you got my order wrong. Hey, this isn't what I ordered. You don't even have somebody say, hey, you know, you got to talk to my manager. What happens if we allow this to become commonplace? I think you even brought this up because you had shared an article with me about these pizza forno?
Yes.
These food kiosks. Like, hey, we don't even want you to go to stores no more. We're just going to have these kiosks strategically placed around your, if you want to go through that real quick.
They actually have this company, Pizza Forno. They have these kiosks. You know, they only require 65 to 80 square feet of space and can start operating within 4 to 6 hours. The Duo plans, the company they plan to fill North America with 20,000 fully automated Pizza Forno kiosks by 2026, including 1,000 in the US by the end of 2022. Like, you literally walk up to this box and get a pizza. It says artisan pizza in 3 minutes, 24/7. Now, I'm a pizza lover. I ain't gonna lie. I love pizza. it sounds good to me, but I'd rather have like an Illy's pizza. I'd rather shout out to my boy, Illy's Pizza, in Ohio. I'd rather have a real fire baked pizza made with hands, and love and care. I'm not sure, but all the processed foods that we eat, we get from the store, whether it be the frozen pizzas or all the frozen foods and microwave dinners or whatever, the processed foods, these are processed by robots, by machines. It's like we've already kind of been groomed for this. We've been groomed already.
You think about the recall on a lot of the Coke products the other day, right? We've been groomed to see, okay, me getting this can of whatever this is, sugar water out of this machine is somehow normal, right? But then, oh, it's contaminated with metals. How do you make sure that these pizzas, just using this pizza for example, because if people buy into this, guess what? We'll buy into burgers at kiosk. No need to go through a drive-through. Just slide your hand on your forehead, and out comes your food. Now I don't, it might be Soylent Green. Who are you going to ask about it?
That's a very good point. About the just bringing back to because we haven't really touched on that yet, and that is Coke, Sprite, and Minute Maid recalled over potential presence of metal pieces. This is a recall and consumer brand alert that came from newsnationnow.com. It says if you have Coke, Sprite, or Minute Maid in your refrigerator, you may want to check the labels after repair of recalls from Coca-Cola. The products were the subject of a voluntary recall because they could contain foreign objects such as metal bolts or washers, according to Food Safety News. Again, this comes from, machines making the products. They break down, they break. There's all kind of, lubricants to make for them to move. That could contaminate the food, contaminate the beverage. They're worried about people contaminating it with this pandemic. The machines can very well do the same thing.
I hope the family understands where we're coming from. We're not coming from a place of victimization. Oh, woe is me. The world is coming to an end. I feel like this could be the precipice of us reclaiming our power in this space. This could be the beginning of us reclaiming our stewardship. And I think what's happening, whether by intent or not, this devil that we speak of is showing his hand. Once you know what it is, then all that's left now, okay, you showed me that you're about to shoot this three-pointer. Now I have a choice. I'm going to stand back and let you shoot it, or I'm going to defend. This defense is us producing our own food. Am I saying all of us can just produce our own food and just totally divest from this system overnight? I think this is a formidable goal, seeing as in there's a 2040 goal to reduce carbon emissions. Depending on what eugenic histories you've studied, there have been other goals to reduce certain melanated parts of the global population. And so, do we care enough about ourselves to make sure we counter that? We defend this, because this is the game of life. And just as technologically advanced as they are with their machines, we're technologically, spiritually advanced with these machines. And these are the ultimate machines created by the Most High. And they were meant to do something. They were meant to do something. Let me not live a life where I'm just living vicariously through devices. I mean, that can be cute. We've learned that social media has connected people. Social media helps us to meet. We met great people through doing this podcast, right? This is technology. So, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, all technology is bad. Let's just revert to being cavemen and cave women." That's not what I'm saying. But when we find ourselves in a situation where we're completely dependent upon technology, which is not only not created by us, but also not created for us, you have to see how that complicates things. And so since we've been given all of this 2020, 2020 opened up our vision to the nature of this experience, this matrix that we find ourselves in. And so how do we make sure that we're thriving? The wheat and the tare. The wheat and the tare. I'm going to let them grow together and I'll do the harvesting. And so are we making sure that we're the wheat? Or are we going to become the weeds? We don't want to be the weeds. We want to be productive. We want to stoke this growth mindset.
And we are encouraging this growth mindset at healthyblackfood.com. Learn how to grow your own food. Do you want a robot producing all of your food? Think about all these recalls we've had over the last few weeks. Onions, spinach. These recalls and food recalls are because of the machines that are, either harvesting the fruits and vegetables or processing it. There's nothing better for food production than a human who can look at this and it's like, okay, this is no good. This is great. You see what I'm saying? Someone who's conscious enough to be like, this is not fit for human consumption versus a machine who may or may not get it right. We got to know what's going into our food. That was the biggest advantage of me growing up farming with my grandfather. I knew what I was eating. And although my grandfather was a short guy, he was only like 5'2". He was only like a 5'2", 5'3". But, me and my brothers and my cousins were all over 6 feet. I wonder if it was the food that had something to do with that.
Joe's daughter of Zion said it best. There's this game of fear. I need to scare you away from your power, and I need to distract you away from your power. The devil has but a short time. But I need you to not focus on what you can do. I don't want you thinking about the ways that you can recreate a natural, actual healthy food system that benefits your own. I don't want you to think about that. I don't want you to think about the potential that you have in your black hands. I want you to think about what our robotic hands can do for you. I don't want you to focus on what you've been naturally endowed with. Since what did Dr. Phil Valentine say? There's never been a time where we weren't. Right? The dark matter that surrounds existence, that is all a part of us. That is the technology that these people have consistently tried to replicate, and it always goes bad. It's like Gargamel trying to chase down the Smurfs, and it never happens. Are we going to let the village get taken over by these evil wizards? I'm going to say evil wizards, because we have the power in our hands right now. Even if these computers go off, even if the grid goes down, guess what? The ground isn't bound to an energy grid. Now, if the only way I can get food is waiting on a store to open up, then that's a different type of problem. But as we're going into 2022, with the experience of the last 2 years, this is a time for a critical mass of melanated people to decide, you know what? I'm getting black to the garden some way, somehow. Even if I just have a balcony, I'm gonna put up some of these container gardens. Even if I don't have a balcony, I'm gonna grow me some herbs and some sprouts in my windows. I'm gonna figure out ways. Maybe I can use energy from my car battery. How you were saying, cats down in Jacksonville, Me no want cyborgs on my sandwich. This is ways for us to do our own research. We know that plants need sun or light and water and nurturing. So with those basic things in mind, and roots need a matrix to get their nutrients. For the most part, you'll want soil. Natural soil is natural, but then you got potting mix. Some plants do good in water. This is when you're talking about aquaponics. So once again, when we think about research, we see these people think things out decades ahead. And so in 2021, we've decided, okay, in the next 10 years, we want to be as separated from this cyborg system of food security as possible. That seed starts today. Some plants don't immediately grow in the next year. Some will take 2 to 3 years to grow or before they germinate. So saying that to say you're planting the seed now of, hey, this is important. This is a conversation we need to have in our community. I was speaking with a sister a couple of days ago. They were up in New York. And so it's a group of them. It's about 25 of them. And they're in apartment buildings. And they're just like, hey, we're in these apartments. What are some ways we can grow food? And so once again, reach out to us at B1AG@gmail.com. We'd be glad to share information with you. There are things that we can do that aren't dependent on robots, that aren't dependent on somebody giving us permission, that aren't dependent on somebody giving us charity. It all starts with us planting the seed of, I want to do something, and not letting them fear us or distract us from the fact that we have the power in our hands. We have the power.
And we can't give up this power. We've already given, in a lot of ways, we've already given this power up. But the beauty of it is that we can reclaim it just by planting a seed, just by planting some seeds, growing your own food, becoming more self-sufficient, taking care of yourself. They want us in a state where we have to look outside of ourselves for everything that we need for us to sustain ourselves. When everything that we need to sustain ourselves, God already gave it to us. He gave it to us. That's how good he is. He gave it to us. The water that we need to drink to survive, it falls from the sky. The food that we need to eat, it literally grows from the ground. The air that we need to breathe is generated by these plants and trees that were there. It's a wonderful thing. Free. Who don't like free? They don't like free. Give me free. I'll go Amistad. Give us free. Give us free. And that's growing your own food. Growing your own food. Let's grow our own food. Let's have grow parties. Let's go ahead. I mean, we some creative people. We can make anything live. We can make anything lit. Let's make the garden lit. Let's make the farm lit. Let's normalize that. Let's normalize cooking our own food again. Let's normalize eating together, breaking bread. Let's get back to the essence, black to the essence, black to the garden. Because whatever they got planned, we already see what they got planned. It involves a bunch of robots and confusion and destruction. So to counter destruction, we got to build and produce. That's the way you counter destruction. You build and produce. Many hands make light work. Farm Brown, I got some hands. What about you, bro? Anybody else out there got some hands?
This is ancient technology.
This is what they're replicating. This is what the robots are trying to copy us.
I don't want y'all to know that what y'all can do. I want you to feel like you can only be functional with me as I'm making all this mess. The same person that cuts down everything and destroys everything and said, I'm trying to help the world, is the one who's feeding us right now, family. What sense does that make? Same people that feel like, oh, these are undesirables of society. These little melanated kids are weeds. We can make the world better by giving better health, by reducing their birth rates. This is the psychosis that is, I'm not even going to say running the world, that is convinced the critical mass of people that they're running the world. All praises to the Most High. We are in our finest hour right now, and it takes us deciding that we want free. It's not something we can ask for. I imagine if I'm beating somebody and hey, will you get off of me? If you're asking me, guess what? I'm going to keep hitting you harder because you let me know I'm getting you. And so to the degree we raise up and say, you know what, we'll feed our own, we'll feed ourselves, it changes the dynamic. And it starts with a seed.
So everybody, I need y'all to do something for me. Like, share, and subscribe to B1AG Daily Bread Podcast on YouTube. You can also catch us on Black Boss Channel. But subscribe to B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. Subscribe. Let's grow this conversation. Like, share, and subscribe. And I keep trying to tell y'all, hey, the comment sections are lit. Catch us live, even on the replay lives. The comment sections are lit. There's a lot of inspiration. There's a lot of information. You know, there's just a lot of gathering of great minds talking about and planning their gardens and planning their strategies, getting ready, you know, to get black to the garden or sharing how they're already black in the garden. They're pushing the black algorithm. And that's what we will continue to do. That is our mission. I don't want to be like bruh said. I don't want no cyborgs in my sandwich.
Pushing the black algorithm. Ancestors, they mastered the systems. We raising young bosses, no victims. Planting that knowledge curriculum. Blessing the boots with the nutrients. The darker the berry, black Nubian. Dropping receipts like I'm Julian. The streets with that food like Peruvian. Trapping the herbs and the fruits and the veggies. CSA boxes, my package is heavy. Ship across town in the bed of my Chevy. Printing them up, growing hard for that baby. If you stay ready, you ain't gotta scramble. Bet on black farmers and growers, no gamble. Reclaiming our bankers, the game is in shambles. Blessed with that melanin, carry the mantle. Mothers and fathers of civilization. Black to the garden with food cultivation. Building back better through black innovation. B1 community growing the nation. Genetically designed to be the dopest. Stoking that growth mindset. Codified, now we focus. Farming on back on track. Feed the fam, break bread with them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Now watch me get them. Watch me get them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Feed the fam, break bread with them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm. Watch me get them. Watch me get them. Pushing that B1AG algorithm.
Now, Joe's daughter Zion, she asked, do you offer courses for farming? We do have that's what healthyblackfood.com is. It's an 8-part course, and we go down and break down everything you need to do to start growing your own food at home. Whether you're in an apartment, whether you have a home and you have a little yard, you know, or as long as you have a cup, as long as you have anything that can hold something, you can grow. You have enough space to grow.
I'm glad you asked this question. There is a distinction. There's a distinction between gardening and farming. And so healthyblackfood.com is the basics. You know, starting a garden, container garden, different ways to get your seed started. And so come 2022, we do have an actual, for people wanting to get a little bit more deeper into farming, we do have the Grow Harder Master course that we're working on. And so saying that to say, definitely, if you would send us some information to B1AG, Gmail, B1AgHipHop@gmail.com, we'll talk directly to you. But saying that to say, there is a distinction between gardening and farming. But I would suggest you garden before you get into farming, because they're very different. Farming is basically when you're wanting to actually make some sort of profit or sell what you have. Farm isn't necessarily limited to a specific size, more so than the function. Legally, a farm is anything that generates over about $1,000. And so saying that to say there are distinctions, but our whole thing around drivinghealthyblackfood.com is understanding that, learning the process of growing food starting from a seed. It makes everything else easier, whether you're wanting to just do it for your at-home operation or whether you're really wanting to go into actual farming. Outside of farming, so once you've gotten the farming thing down, maybe you want to go into ag business. This is something else that we like to touch upon, just like, hey, once again, this is a great opportunity. Not just are you learning how to garden, but, we know 100% of everybody has to eat. And so how do you take these products that you started in 2021, learning how to grow, by 2025, 2026, have you now turned these into value-added products? Have you now created subscriptions that people actually subscribe to whatever it is you're growing? How do you build these networks to actually make this? Yes, it's definitely a good course. It's definitely a good course. And so once again, we do have some other courses that this is why you got to keep tapping in with us at B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. I think next time, since you brought that up, I think we should do a particular podcast just talking about, farming in general. I think that would be a good idea, and I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm telling y'all, once you start growing, it's very addictive. It's like once you start empowering yourself, it's very addictive. You're like, man, I could have been doing this for myself instead of paying for it. Wow, this tastes better than what I get at the store. This looks better than what I get at the store in my neighborhood. Wow, I can actually do this myself. I can get my kids off the video game and have them out there doing something productive, learning something, hands-on science, getting their minds thinking in a natural way, teaching them things like delayed gratification, work ethic.
I was 30. Somebody said, I think Sister Cherry Wallflower said, man, I was 40 before I was 30. I was 30 and I stumbled upon it accidentally. I was going to get an environmental science and technology degree because we had started a lawn care company and we wanted to get into urban restoration. And so I noticed in my environmental science and technology, the associate program, it was never any melanated people in there. And so, it was exciting to me. I had never known anything about water quality, environmental studies, environmental law. And then I got a scholarship to go to a HBCU. And I had to pick a STEM course. And so it was literally a spin the bottle situation. And agriculture. I'm like, agriculture, food. Didn't think anything of it. Like I had always known about gardening because my mom used to garden, but it was only till I was 30. I was 30 years old when I realized, like, damn, and y'all are really people are really keeping us out of this. And this is like $1 trillion industry. And it was even going to a HBCU, or wasn't that much melanin represented in the ag courses. When you think about these 1890s colleges, this is where the bag is. When you think about society as a whole, the bag is in being able to feed people. And so that's what triggered my whole my embarrassment. Why am I 30 years old and I'm just now figuring this out? Hands-on science. Why is it just now clicking that, wow, you know what? Everybody does eat. You know what? I can produce food. You know what? People buy food. You know what? A lot of the sicknesses that I've seen people in my family suffer from started with food. A lot of the things that make somebody healthy is food. When we think politically, it doesn't matter what you protest about. If you can't feed yourself, then you're subject to whatever I tell you to do, because you'll just exhaust yourself. So it goes back to the food, and it's never too late to get back to the garden.
And I was born in it. I was born in it. I can't, my grandfather was a farmer. His mother was full-blooded Indian. So living off the land came natural for him. My grandfather, he only read two things: the Bible and the almanac. Dropped out of school in the 4th grade. But I bet you could never trick him out of his money. I guarantee you that. You can never trick him out of his money, and he kept plenty of it. Because he went out there, and I used to think, man, you growing all this food, you out there growing money too. And really you are. When you grow food, you're growing money. When you grow food, you're growing money. Food is a money tree. I remember we used to get some calls sometimes. It'd be some kind of bill collector. Like, granddaddy, these people talking about you owe them some money. I don't owe nobody nothing. They lying. I don't owe that King of Rancho Cucamonga like on next Friday. That was my grandfather for real. I don't owe nobody nothing. He ain't owe nobody nothing because he went out there and got it. He went out there and got it. My grandmother didn't have to shop for much. When we went grocery shopping, it was for very basic stuff. Very basic stuff. Because we grew everything. And I'm talking about some of the best food. Some of the best food. And I would love for everybody to have these experiences. I can go on, like Farmer Brown always tells me I have so many unwritten books. And I do. Just talking about my experiences growing up in this world of agriculture with my grandfather and my grandmother and all the food and all the people that they fed. My grandfather and grandmother fed probably as many people as McDonald's. Because the thing about food, you can't eat it all. You can't eat it all. Even no matter how good it is, you can't eat it all. You might as well share. And I mean, this extended beyond people. My grandfather had stray cats, birds, all the animals. Like John, they got to eat too. Birds got to eat too. Those cats and dogs, they got to eat too. We all got to eat, and there's plenty. And the thing about it, it's plenty. It's plenty of us. It's plenty of food for us to eat. Hunger is that's a forced reality. That's because people are denied access, or they don't realize that we have all the access that we need. So let's dial in. Let's plug in. Let's dig in that dirt. Look at digging in that dirt just like plugging into the wall socket. Let's produce some food. Because at the end of the day, if you really, 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 really want to know something, what do the people need to do, Brown?
If you really want to know something, let's get tunnel vision on a healthy B1 community, a healthy, thriving B1 community that can feed ourselves and sell the surplus. So if you really want to know something, let's learn how to grow something.
Hey, y'all, it's Friday, going into this weekend. Be safe. Keep that growth mindset. Let's grow harder through the weekend. so we can go into Monday back strong, upright, and ready to go. There's a lot going on, but good thing with us at B1AG and his family, we're growing on. So while they can go on, we can grow on. I'm John Henry Harris. We have Farmer Brown MC. Thank you again for checking out B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. See you soon. Peace.